Welcome to game number 12 of the 12-game match for the World Championship played in New York City between Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karyakin. This game number 12 specifically played on the 28th of November 2016. Before I get into the game itself, bear with me for just a moment while I just bounce an idea off of you. Back in the old days of chess, that's prior to Fischer winning the world title in 1972, World Championship matches were played on the classical time controls, and the reigning world champion had draw odds. So, which, in other words, if the match was tied at those games, there used to be 24-game matches. If the match was tied at 12 games apiece, the champion would retain his title because the challenger was not able to beat the champion in the classical time control match. However, after Fischer won the world title in 1972, that rule was changed around, whereby a new rule was brought in which required the champion to win the match to still retain the title. Then, after Karpov succeeded Fischer by default in 1975, the rules were then changed back again, where the reigning champion had draw odds, or in other words, the reigning champion only needed to tie the match in order to be able to retain his world title. And that rule stayed in effect all the way through until the Russians no longer had the control of the World Chess Championship title. And after Vishy Anand beat Kramnik for the world title, the rules were then changed back again, whereby the reigning champion needed to win the match in order to retain the title, and that was when rapid and blitz type playoffs took place. Now I'm just wondering, after the 12th game ending in a draw, whether or not, should Sergei Karyakin win the world title in the tiebreaks, will FIDE once again change the rules now that Russia has regained control over the world chess title? Will FIDE once again change the rules whereby the reigning champion only needs to draw the classical match in order to retain the title? That we'll have to wait and see. But getting back to the match itself, everybody was expecting the last classical game match to be very much a Magnus Carlsen going all out on the attack to be able to clinch the game within the classical time controls. Possibly the stress of everything meant that he wasn't able to sleep well and decided to get himself an extra rest day. That we will probably only find out when Magnus eventually writes his memoirs. But the game started with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, and castle short. Now, bearing in mind that in the 10th game that Magnus won, he played d3 and kept the pawns on the board, but with castling short so immediately into a Berlin defense seems to be an indication that we're heading down a peaceful path. Knight takes on e4 and rook e1, the second indication that the game is about to fizzle out into a rapid transition into a dead-drawn, completely symmetrical endgame. Continuing, knight d6, knight takes on e5, bishop e7, bishop f1, knight takes on e5, rook takes on e5, castle short, d4, bishop f6, rook e1, rook e8, bishop f4, rook takes on e1, queen takes on e1, knight e8, c3, d5, bishop d3, g6, and practice has proven that symmetry in the position is a very difficult thing to crack, and already now 14 moves in a draw is the most likely outcome of the match. Continuing, knight a3, c6, knight c2, knight g7, queen d2, bishop f5, and now we have another exchange of happening with bishop takes an f5, knight takes an f5, knight e3, knight takes an e3, queen takes an e3, queen e7, queen takes an e7, bishop takes an e7, and the mutual hacking of pieces continues. And as you can see here with the pawn position, we've got almost identical symmetry. We've got perfect symmetry on the queen side of the board and almost perfect symmetry on the king side of the board. Both players have a dark square bishop, and both players have a rook that is still pegged back on its original square. So everything is completely symmetrical, and a draw is in the, unless somebody makes an absolutely catastrophically stupid error, everything is fizzling out rapidly into a quick and early draw. Rook e1, bishop f8, king f1, f6, g4, king f7, h3, rook e8, rook takes an e8, king takes an e8, the rooks are off the board, king e2, king d7, king d3, king e6, a4, a6, f3, bishop e7, and a draw agreed. 30 moves played, 35 minutes in total for the match. And the group of people that I feel the most sorry for were the ones that paid tickets to sit in the theatre for 35 minutes and see everything fizzling out completely in front of them. What will be happening in the playoffs? We'll have to wait and see. Remember, the playoffs consist of a 4-game match with rapid time controls of 25 minutes per player. If that 4-game match is tied, then they go into 5 mini matches of 2 games each, played with blitz time controls of 5 minutes aside. And if that game is all 5 of those little mini matches are tied, then you'll move into the final playoff match, which is white has 5 minutes versus black's 4, and a draw secures the victory for black. But hopefully we won't go all the way down to that type of Armageddon type of game, because a World Championship match really shouldn't be decided in an Armageddon type of format. It's absolutely ridiculous. That brings me to the end of my report on Game 12 of the World Championship match between Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karyakin, played New York City 2016. Be sure to like and share this video, post any comments, questions or criticisms that you may have in the comment section down below. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, and last but by no means least, stay carved up for the win. I'll see you next time. Cheers.